It is now time for our political insiders. It seems that this debate for the vice presidential candidates has taken on greater significance since the president was diagnosed with COVID-19 and he can't campaign. Laura Beck?
Yeah, I think it has taken on a lot of significance, particularly because the presidential debate was such a goat rodeo, especially when you're looking at this and we're moving for the context of where it's happening. You've got a president who is supposedly quarantining in the White House. You've got the economy cratering. And you've got Vice President Pence, who has served as the head of the coronavirus task force. And all polls are showing that people are not happy with the federal government's response on that. So you're really coming into an unprecedented situation for this debate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to have a lot of importance. Also, looking at the age of these candidates and some of the comments that Biden has made, frankly, about being kind of a bridge to the next generation. So I think people are going to see what the next generation of leadership could look like, and it's going to be important. I think there's a lot of opportunity on both sides to be aggressive here.
Will each candidate have to prove something tonight? Will there be a topic that each candidate will have to talk about to connect with the voters? Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I think for both of them, there's a lot of opportunity, again, to kind of draw contrasts between the different visions, hopefully in a way that, as Laura said correctly, the goat rodeo debate from last week or a couple weeks ago did not do. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and we'll see who capitalizes on it more.
And Laura, before we move forward, exactly what is a goat rodeo? I know that I'm from New York City. I've been in Indiana now for 20 plus years, over 2 decades, never been to a goat rodeo. What exactly does that look like that you would compare it to this previous debate?
I think it's sort of like spending your time with a bunch of like 9-year-old boys. Let's just put it that way. I would liken it to that. So, So yeah, I'm sorry. I was just getting ready to interrupt you. I think when you look at this though too tonight, you've got to remember that Vice President Pence is performing for an audience of one, and that's Donald Trump. The other thing about him you have to remember too is I don't know if he's ever debated a woman like this in this type of climate. He is always debating a man. And so I think that's going to be a different dynamic for him too. And the Senator Harris, she has got to really convey a steady, balanced approach that we're the adults in the room. We are ready to take over on day one. We've got a plan. We're ready to move forward. So I see that as some of the back going into tonight too.
A vice presidential aide has mocked Kamala Harris for wanting plexiglass at the debate. Is too much being made on this issue?
No, we aren't. Just like literally just yesterday, somebody who was at the event who has a close relationship with an aide of Pence tested positive. So absolutely not. If I was Kamala, I would absolutely want a plexiglass and to be as far away as humanly possible. I think the people who are taking this in the wrong direction are the folks who are not taking safety precautions, especially again, when you know that there is an actual case of positive corona tests kind of ripping through the White House right now, and frankly through some of the Senate as well. So one side is doing this right and the other is not.
When you look at that photo of that, what's being referred to as the super spreader event, Mike Pence is sitting in the middle of that. And if he were any other American who is exposed to somebody with COVID-19 is told to get a test, even if you're negative, you need to quarantine for 14 days. I mean, that is what every other American is doing. And so for them, I think it's less of her mocking and more of they don't want the plexiglass because they don't want to admit that we are in the middle of a global pandemic that is impacting every person's life. We celebrated my dad's 75th birthday on Zoom last night. And because we haven't gotten together to see him since March. That's what people are doing all over this country. And I don't think they want to admit it.
Yeah, I haven't hugged my grandfather since this began. So really since Christmas, frankly. And to see people on camera hugging each other, at this event, just really, it really drives home the difference in what everyday Americans are facing versus people who have daily tests and are frankly acting without a lot of precautions.
Will gender play a role in how people view this debate? Because the vice president is a man, the Democratic nominee is a woman.
Yes, absolutely. If a male candidate has not prepared and debated against a woman in their practice sessions, you will be able to tell that, because the way that you speak to each other has to be done differently. I've worked on campaigns where we've had a man debating a woman, and absolutely was an impact in the way that we prepped, and it should be an impact in the way that you prep, because it matters how you come across to Americans.
Yeah, it does. It does. It really does. I mean, and I think for women, we're told if we don't smile more, we're told to smile more. We're told to modulate our tone. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm told to modulate my tone because I come off as shrill, which is just me. But Megan, probably you run into this all the time too. I think there's a different standard. So it's not a sexist question to ask. I just think it's the world we live in. But I think what will be interesting here is when we look at Senator Harris, she's a prosecutor. And if you're a talented prosecutor, and I've worked with many, you use the evidence for you to put together a narrative that is both compelling and fact-based, and to throw your opponent off their game. And I think she has the potential to do that tonight. The challenge for her is that, again, she has to remain authentic to herself. She has to be true to herself. She has to be her. But she has to monitor how she's coming across too. So it's just going to be fascinating to watch.
Our political insiders, thank you so much on this Wednesday. Our coverage of Democracy 2020 continues right now on WRTV.